What's a little thing you do to make the world a better place? I leave spare quarters in gumball machines. I like to think it makes somebody happy every once in a while. That's really great. Wait for people that get left behind. No bro, left behind. I used to get left behind at family lunches and dinners, as I'm a slow eater. An uncle of mine started staying with me till I finished my food. Probably cost him some time, but meant a lot for me. I pick up a few pieces of trash each time I walk my dog. It's a very tiny thing, but I like to think it adds up. I often hike ski mountains and you won't believe how many beer cans, sunglasses, nip bottles, junk etc that you find under chairlifts. It's all over the mountain, but I usually hike under the chairlift to collect. Makes me feel good. Nature is beautiful and precious and people are next to it. When someone gets cut off repeatedly in conversation, I make an effort to make eye contact with them and say go ahead, I'm listening, or something along those lines. Yes, I do this too, and you can tell by the look on their face that it's really appreciated. Everyone knows how it feels to have a story cut off, especially if it happens more than once. Good on you. Compliment people. I saw on here that men don't get many compliments, so I try to do it in as unflirty a way as possible so it doesn't get awkward. Simple stuff like cool shirt. When I worked at Starbucks, I tried to say one compliment to each customer that went through the drive-thru. It could be something as simple as nice sunglasses or watch or whatever. It could literally be anything and it totally switched people's attitude toward you. I told other partners, other employees, to do this and it somehow made some shifts a lot easier to manage, customer-wise. I still try to do this at work, but it's a little harder now with the social distancing and masks. Edit. Oh my goodness, I didn't expect for this to get so many responses. Thanks everyone. It's honestly one of the very few things I can do for strangers. I'm a social worker now, and I'm not able to see my clients, but when I was able to see them, I do the same thing. Your hair looks nice today. That's a good color on you. Little things. Since I can't see them now, I'm pretty much stuck to you sound really good today. How was your lunch? I mostly work with the elderly, or if I know they've been sick. You're sounding better from when we last talked, and it really gets their spirits up. I try to do this with cashiers too, but reading body language is very important. Some people just don't want to talk or hear people talk, and that's okay too. It's also good to know that some people don't know how to respond to compliments, so don't be offended if you don't get a response back. But simple is key for me. I always greet our receptionists at work and tell them bye when I leave. I think something as simple as acknowledging people's presence makes a big difference. Thank you for the silvers. Much love to everyone. Stay safe out there. Recognize and thank a person for their help/efforts, no matter how small a task may seem. I found this really helpful as a bar manager at festivals. When you have crazy 14-hour shifts, just telling people hey man, thanks for restocking the fridge really goes a long way. When I remove an item from a grocery store shelf, I move the same item forward to replace it. ESP top shelf items. Short people like me appreciate you. Use manners. Sounds inconsequential, but after working hospitality/retail, the amount of people that don't use them is terrible. Related. Treat the person answering the phone as a person, recognizing that they're probably paid peanuts to be ranted at by customers who expect them to be magicians. Also experience taught. Move turtles out of the road. Edit. Here's a link to an @GR article explaining the difference between turtles and tortoises, because apparently some people want to act confused. A wildlife biologist explains that turtle can be used as an umbrella term for all turtle-like reptiles. Yay. When you move them, make sure you put them in the direction they were going. They are quite determined to go where they want to go. Take care of my things. We didn't have much while growing up, and my mother always believed in quality. She would buy things she knew we would use a lot. I have the same pencil case from 6th grade. I'm in grad school now. I have linen bed sheets, water bottles, fountain pens, mugs, and even some clothes that I've used for over 10 years. This helps me consume less, in turn creating less waste. I feel like we should strive to reduce before reusing and recycling. It blows my mind how some people go through so much crap because they see it as disposable or it's out of fashion. I've had the same backpack since 2007, the same duffel bag since 2004, and the same laundry hamper basket since 2000. I also use the hamper laundry basket to put my groceries in when I go to the store, so I'm not using bags either. I'm also in grad school and I've got 10+ year-old binders and the same ruler I've had since middle school. My dad hammered it into me that you take care of your stuff. It was annoying when I was younger, but once I started paying for all my own stuff I was so glad he was like that. I do my best to keep bread and toast crumbs out of the butter container. Truly the kindest of all of us. I always make sure to be overly polite to people serving me, whether in a restaurant or a shop, and I always tell them to have a good day when I leave. Having worked in retail, I know a simple "how are you?" "thank you" or a "have a nice day" can mean a lot, especially on a bad shift. I was raised to have good manners and I'll be damned if I don't flex them at any opportunity I have. It always surprises/saddens me that other people can't be the same way. I feel like everyone should have to do 6 months waiting tables between high school and college, or just after HS. I think it would make our society so much better overall. I don't know if it makes the world a better place, but I try to be as nice as possible to people. Even strangers who come up and talk to me, I'm nice to them. I don't know what they are going through, but sometimes we just need someone to talk to. Yes. Whenever I have an exchange with a retail or service worker, I try to really look at them and invest a little in the exchange. People can tell when you treat them like a person instead of an automaton. I know many don't care and just want to be done with their shift, but that's the point. And some really seem to come alive if they realize you're treating them like someone who deserves notice. I don't mess with my phone while driving. One less hazard to worry about on the roads. Thank you. Own up to my mistakes to those it directly affects. Edit affects. I read this and think video games lol. But I do the same. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. And if someone thinks I'm wrong, I hope they will speak up and say so. I'd rather know certain things I'm doing are wrong than so something and keep doing it if there's no backlash. Pick up trash. Deleted. Take my shopping cart to the return corral when I'm done with it. Edited to soapbox. The awards were unnecessary but appreciated. As other Redditors have pointed out, returning a shopping cart is trivial, not an accomplishment. I think overlooking good behavior as an expectation devalues the act of doing good, though. Especially with regard to children. Praising good behavior is beneficial, even when you think it's the default. It promotes good people within society, and we need that. There's a place where you pay a quarter to take a cart and get it back when you return it. I always go on the side of the sidewalk closest to the cars when I see an elderly person or someone with a baby. I doubt anything changes really, but I like to think I'm being selfless. As someone frequently with a baby, I would notice and appreciate this. Donate blood products. Your body's constantly making red blood cells and platelets, and it's harmless and possibly healthy to donate. I started with whole blood because, well, that's what donating blood means to people. 15 minutes of time, eat a cookie, get a sticker. After I did that for a few gallons, I was asked if I'd consider donating platelets. They have to be used within 5 days of collection, so there's always a constant need, but it takes about 2 hours to do it. A single pint of blood doesn't have enough for a platelet transfusion, so the donor ends up hooked to an apheresis machine that'll centrifuge the blood, remove the platelets, and return the rest of the blood back to the body. So I end up watching Netflix for 2 hours on Saturday, while doing another triple donation every other week, up to 24 times a year. It's like Spider-Man's quote in Civil War, when you can do the things I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen. They happen because of you. Obviously donating like this isn't saving the world, but it's making the world a better place, and I'd feel ashamed if I just spend that time watching Netflix at home instead of doing some good at the same time. I also donated bone marrow in 2008, so that was a little more of a if you can help and don't, and bad things happen, it's your fault situation, as I was the best available match in the entire world for my recipient. That was a little thing to me, but a life-changing thing for that person's family. Close bracket. Don't denigrate what you did. For that one person, you meant the entire world to them. Good on you, friend. I say thank you, sincerely. Simple but effective. My husband always says you're welcome whenever anyone thanks him for anything. You wouldn't believe how often we skip it until you hear him. He holds the door open and someone mutters thanks. He says you're welcome. He hands me a dish I'm reaching for and I just thanks and he says you're welcome. Always does. No matter how small or inconsequential. Slight clarification. He never says no problem or anything else. I don't know if I buy it, but I did hear once that no problem has an unspoken connotation that the action, could have been a problem. I personally do like my pleasure, and I use all of these. My husband, though, only says you're welcome. Try it for every little thing, you'll be noticed, and no, it doesn't come across as insincere or overly formal, he definitely is not that. Lol. When you see someone that looks down or lonely, talk to them. You might make a good friend. Having been that person, thank you. I can't thank the random people who stopped what they were doing just to start a conversation with me, but it was always needed and it always saved me. So thank you for the people you've saved. Clean up helps a lot. Anytime I go walking through a park I pick up some trash. It's only a handful or two typically, but I figure it adds up over time. Try to raise respectful and compassionate children. That's a big deal. I used to leave my parking permit on the permits if I had an early day at community college so someone else didn't have to pay. Turns out it started a trend and people still do it. I can't take the full credit though. I think someone accidentally bought two and didn't realize it, so they left it at the machine. I used to do the same with bus tickets. The bus tickets in my area used to do paper tickets that were valid all day. So when I got off the stop near my flat I'd leave the ticket in the bus stop for the next person. The tickets are all on an app now, or online monthly payments. Cut all 6-pack rings. My family does this, even if it's going in a bag, just in case. Whenever I see a fellow woman wearing something super great looking, it'll go as far as to yell I like your dress/hair/makeup across the street. Yes girl. There's nothing like getting a genuine compliment from another woman. Write little love messages on the tag of my wife's tea bag when I get her a cuppa. That's cute. I do something similar with my girlfriend. If she's out and I go out, I make the bed and leave a love note for her to find instead of me. She uses her favorites as bookmarks. I stay up till 4 AM each day because I have several friends who are struggling during the lockdown and are getting depressed, so I stay up till then either waiting to see if they'll talk or talk to them to calm them before they fall asleep mid-convo. Some days I don't get a message from any of them and I've stayed up till 4 AM for no reason, but I don't mind because I care for them and one of them is so I love and care for her so much. That sounds exhausting, but you have no idea how much it might help someone. That being said, make sure you get some sleep. Smile at strangers. When I was younger I read something, may or may not have been true, that a man was contemplating suicide and told himself that if one person smiled at him that day then he wouldn't do it. And no one did, so he killed himself. Again, I don't know if it was just a story or if it actually happened, but I told myself from then on I'd smile at anyone I passed on the street. You might be thinking of this article. New Yorker motto had a patient who committed suicide from the Golden Gate in 1963, but the jump that affected him most occurred in the 70s. I went to this guy's apartment afterward with the assistant medical examiner. He told me the guy was in his 30s, lived alone, pretty bare apartment. Had written a note and left it on his bureau. It said, "I'm going to walk to the bridge. If one person smiles at me on the way, I will not jump." Answering any question, no matter how stupid, to the best of my ability. If someone has a genuine question about something, it's a rick move to ridicule them for it. This just promotes stupidity because people will be too scared to find out the truth for something. I hated it, and still do, when as a kid I asked a question and adults would just say it's to make you talk, or stuffs like that, so I stopped asking anything to people mostly because of it. I think they were too afraid to acknowledge the fact that they didn't know the answer. The more I grow, the more I realize adults are stupid and immature. I turn the toilet paper on the right side everywhere I go, cleverly leaving out which side is the right side. Well played. I'm a couponer. I get a lot of free stuff, especially toothpaste. Every now and then I go through my stash and box up the extra and give it to a local organization that helps those in need. Also, every time I give someone a birthday gift, I throw a toothpaste in there too, because why not? This is so sweet. Honestly, I just try to be kind to people. The world is so full of angry people that make other people miserable. I just try not to add to it. There's much going on in the world that frustrates me, but I never take it out on the people around me. I work in healthcare and it's a stressful environment, and I've found that people work better when they're being treated well, with patience, and everybody is calm. Yeah, I'd be surprised, or maybe not, how many assholes there are in healthcare that make mountains out of molehills, flip out on people for minor errors, not stuff that would bring patient harm, and worst of all give themselves far more leeway than they do the people they flip out on. So anyway, yeah, I just try not to be a Rick. The secretary at the NICU, my daughters were at crocheted prayer cloths for the babies. She gave me the idea for the small thing I do to try to make the world a better place. A lot of parents of dead babies feel like the babies aren't acknowledged, and sometimes, if the parents don't have living children, they aren't really acknowledged as parents. But they are parents, and their babies are ill. I make baby things to send to the bereaved parents I meet. If they want them, I remember their children's names and do what I can to get the point across that their children aren't forgotten and have made a difference in this world. It's my way of making sure that my dead children aren't forgotten and they made a difference in this world. Every Friday at work I would go to our cafeteria and pay for the person's meal behind me. I like this and have done it, but I don't know how I feel about the idea as a whole. I like when it stops at that person, but I don't want them to feel the burden of having to continue it. I've seen posts of people talking negatively about the person breaking the chain, and I don't feel like the point should be to create a chain reaction where everyone feels like they have to keep it going or be a jerk. Seeding on torrent after downloading. More and more I'm noticing digital pirates have a code of ethics. More of a guide, really. In all seriousness, it does exist. I have a no pirating ever rule with indie music and startups. Movies I have to have at least paid to see the theater release, or buy it immediately after, and almost never games. Special exception to Disney and EA, who I'll happily seed until the internet runs out of bandwidth, whether I like their products or not. I like to leave pennies head side up in hope of making some own stay. I don't quite understand. Could you explain? Not something I do on the regular because of lockdown and several other variables. But when I'm in London and it's raining, if I'm at a crossing with tourists with young kids who don't have umbrellas, I'll hold the umbrella over the kid's head instead of mine. I'm shy, so I find it hard to say in person when I have received good or great customer service. So I like to email the company directly and let them know. I always try to remember the person's name and to be specific, so that it might make it back to the employee or they might win an Employee of the Month award. It really does make a difference. I had a flight attendant that did a great job and I tweeted about it. When he had me on a flight like 6 months later, he remembered me and proudly told me they read my tweet in a training clap. You're doing a fantastic thing by doing that. If I see a homeless person who has a dog, I stop and give him a bottle of water. The dog is probably thirsty, and the homeless person may not have frequent access to clean water. Oh, you know, yours is a good one. In that vein, I was just reminded, I don't drive a ton during the pandemic. I keep a box of granola bars in my car. Every time I see someone who is homeless, I give one away. Felt terrible the one time I met a guy with /2 teeth who declined. And I'm going to get softer ones next time around, but otherwise is successful. Edited because grammar is hard. There's a kid who lives above me who can't have a dog and gets excited when he sees mine when we're both outside. So I basically give up a good half hour letting them play together while he tells me about how much he wants a dog. Username does not check out. Have a lovely day. Clean up after yourself and others. It's not mine. Yeah, well, it's still our planet. From a very young age, my parents ingrained in me that picking up litter is just part of being outside. If you see it, clean it up. I still do it today, and most of the time it's not even that gross. But there was one time when young me picked up a used condom and walked over all proud saying, "Luck mom, a clear balloon." She wasn't so happy about me cleaning that one up. Use my turn signals. If you really don't think someone is okay, never ask them when there are other people around. Talk to them privately and come across as very understanding. 100% this. I do this also because it's the way I would want to be approached, plus it opens a space for real interactive communication. You will be seen as someone who respects their privacy and truly cares. Smile at strangers that I make eye contact with. This is so sweet, but I also thought about how in some cultures this would be considered flirting, lol. I'm still paying my cleaner throughout isolation, even though she's not here. Figure I'm lucky enough to still have my job, so I should be able to help her keep hers. Hope her other clients are doing the same. I do the same. When my neighbor needed a housekeeper, I referred mine. When the lockdown started, that neighbor asked what I planned to do, and I made a long explanation as to why I would pay the housekeeper for however long it took. Because I knew she was seeking permission not to, I shamed her into paying. Loop back around to someone if they get cut off during conversation. In high school, I had one friend who would always dominate the conversation and would cut off people while they were talking, or straight up tell them no one cares and talk about herself. I know it sounds silly and cliche, but she viewed herself as more popular, so she would do this to exert her power over others. She used to do this to me all the time when I was less popular, but I eventually became one of the more popular ones in the group, so she came to respect me a lot more. Anytime she cut someone off in conversation, I would loop back around to them and ask, "Sorry, what were you saying about?" to give them a chance to speak. I know it's such a small thing, and teenage girl politics and power flexes are so stupid, but one thing I always carried with me was how poorly that girl treated me when she didn't view me as popular, so I made sure to include everyone in our friend group once she came to respect me more. I still do this today if a softer spoken person gets cut off during conversation, because I think it makes them feel like people actually care what they have to say. So duck that girl from high school, but also thank you in a way. I was talking to another girl from that friend group recently, and she told me that she recently had to cut off ties and go to therapy for the way that girl treated her. I do this too. I'm always the one who gets talked over because I tend to stumble on my words and can't get my thought out clearly. I appreciate it when someone really takes the time to listen to me, and I always do my best to do the same for others. I just try to be nice. I dislike a ton of people I work with, but I'll be damned if they dislike me for being rude. This immigrant and people annoy me, but I'll always be polite. Chalking sidewalks, telling people they are loved, and sharing positive words. Your worth is not determined by your productivity. You are doing the best you can. You are worthy of love simply for existing. If you need help, text home to 741 to 741. Making hopscotch on a trail. It is small, but watching people walk on the sidewalks after I have chalked is so satisfying, especially when they do not know it is me. Eater, wow. Thank you for the silver. First award ever. I'm smiling. If I see that the car behind me is trying to make a right on red, I pull up so they have enough room to par. If I see someone is trying to par me on a narrow, winding, sketchy road, I move close to the shoulder and slow down to allow them to par more quickly. If I see several people lined up behind me as I'm driving, I find a place to pull over so they can par. Own up to my choice. This is really important. I see a lot of adults who can never admit when they are wrong, and it causes a lot of problems. If parents did this more often and taught their kids this, the world would have more mature people. Stay home as much as possible during pandemic. My mom would take us out on hikes to our local nature trail, We each had a small grocery bag that we would try to fill up with litter. Edit, spelling. Give people upvotes, right? This seems small, but just liking or commenting on someone's post brightens their day. Say thank you when someone opens the door for you. Pick up after your dog. Wear a ducking mask. Kinky. I take my rubbish home. Don't litter people. Minimize my plastic usage and embrace a minimalist lifestyle. When I take a piss in a toilet that has hardened turds clinging above the water line, I try to pressure wash those off or at least loosen them up to make the janitor's work easier. That is a very unique method for serving humanity. Ask a friend how they are doing and make sure they answer honestly. I do that too. If I ask how someone is and get a generic one-word answer, I follow it up with how are you really doing? Avoid fast fashion by getting all my clothes second-hand and supporting local businesses as much as possible, especially right now. I love thrift shopping. I've found some gems while doing so. Plant trees. Deleted. I try to help when I see people in need. A few weeks ago I pushed a lady's car up to a gas pump. Yesterday I gave her a couple some water bottles. They went for an evening walk out by their house and were coming to top of a very long semi-steep hill. We were way out in the forest, so I drive by slow and asked if they were alright. They just chuckled and said yes, and the husband asked if we had any water, so I pulled over to the side and gave them each a bottle from my cooler. My favorite random act of kindness was seeing a guy with his hood up on I-25. Stopped and asked him if I could help cause I had my tools with me. He said he owned a shop not far from my house and just needed a ride to get his other vehicle and his wife and kids were in the car. Even showed me his cards. I gave him a ride and he noticed my power steering pump was going out and told me to call him next week and he would look at it. When I met up with him, he got me a power steering pump and installed it. It was an old Chevy, so cheap and easy for him. He said he had been sitting there 45 minutes and I was the first person to stop for him and that's why he did it. Today you, tomorrow me. Smile at everyone. I was going to post this as well. I always smile, even at strangers, with direct eye contact. I dunno, it might brighten someone's day or let them know I see you and I hope you're happy and having a good day. I feel like general friendliness has disappeared in today's world. I put the snails back to the ground when it rained and they got on the sidewalk. No crunch for y'all, gentlemen. I do that with worms. I'm vegan. I knew I'd find you incontroversial and I'm here to join you. Put my shopping cart back. I save bugs and arachnids. When I find them somewhere they shouldn't be, I pick them up and carry them back to somewhere they can have a life. Me too. All bugs found inside the house are brought outside, even stink bugs and spiders, if I can catch them. The only bugs I'll kill are palmetto bugs or roaches. I also pick up the earthworms on the sidewalk after a rainstorm and move them to dirt. When I go for walks over the field or around the village I pick up litter and dispose of it properly without telling anyone. Because as soon as you tell people about this stuff then you done it for attention rather than for the right reasons. Probably seems dumb, but there's a lot of stray cats around my area, so I always take a few pouches of wet food and a packet of treats and kinda leave them in spots I've seen the cats lurking before. Be kind to waitresses, waiters or cashiers. Stop the spread of misinformation, i.e. fake news here. Pick up my dog's chews. When I have cases or 12 packs of pop I always leave the barcode up so it's easier for checker to scan. I do this too, and the cashiers always notice and thank me for doing it. It feels good to make someone's day easier. If I see a heads up penny, I pick it up for good luck. However, if I see a tails up penny then I'll flip it over so someone else can have good luck. And maybe I'll get a little good karma. I'm not very superstitious, but this is one little thing I do, just because it take no time or effort. I eat plant-based. Here is the science behind why that means a lot to our planet for anyone interested. According to an article published last year on Science, the single biggest thing we can do is reduce our meat and dairy consumption. Meat uses up to 80% of worldwide farmland and produces 60% of agriculture's gas emissions. Don't believe you have to turn vegan in an instant. Start with what you can, be it one meal a day or one full day without meat or dairy products, and build your confidence upon that. Some great, cheap and easy recipes you can pair with vegetables are pasta and couscous, for example, or falafels, which are made from chickpeas and are very tasty. Check r/cheap and healthy and r/Japan vegan for more info. This may seem a little random, but when I go to the Mardi Gras parade and get all my beads, when the parade finishes, I take all my beads and give them to little kids that were overlooked and couldn't get any. I believe that makes the world a better place, just because in the bad dark world we live in, I can at least still give out some kind, positive vibes. Pick up exhausted bees and put them somewhere they won't get stepped on. Honestly, I do this with any bug on a sidewalk. Worms, ladybugs. My brother even saw a big green caterpillar on the road while driving through a library parking lot, and he got out to put it at a tree. Keep my trash in my pocket until I see a bin. Same. Thought it was a bit of a crazy me thing, but it's nice to see I'm not alone there. A plant-based diet. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.